But we can
Yeah.
simplify this. Now I'm going to here's another trick for the users who are looking for just simple tricks. I'm going to hit the Alt key and the up arrow. And what that does, it brings back my last command. Okay, this is the last command that I ran in the console. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to print node. And now I'm going to call a method on node. Now, node just happens to be the name that I used here. So don't confuse this with the actual node in the scene, because this is another one that's easy to get confused by, because I created that term node. But there's also the concept of a node inside of KeyShot. But I'm going to say node get name. And so I'm going to do the same. I'm going to call the same for loop. And all I did was modify that print statement slightly. And I'm going to hit the return key. And now look at what the screen shows. It just shows me the name without all that object stuff, right? So if you're looking for simple ways to do that, you can do that. So let's try something else that we talked about earlier. And I'm going to, instead of calling this, I'm just going to say root find. Remember, root find gets everything, right? So if I do root find, everything comes back. So let's do a sorted function. This is a Python function on root find. Sorry. Let's go to the end and just see what happens. It gives me an error. It doesn't want me to sort. Now this is where you get into some Python and KeyShot concepts. You say, well, wait a second. I just had all these objects. Why can't I sort them? I should be able to sort those. But the way the sorted algorithm or the sorted method works in Python, it's expecting a certain data type. But the data type here is a what's called a tuple. If you notice this parentheses here and this parentheses, I've got a tuple, but it says comparison is not implemented. Well, what in the world does that mean? So let's try something, a modification of this. And let's just say find, I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll just try this. Get name. See if this does. I don't think this is going to work, but we'll try it. I wanted to, I'm going to create what's called a list comprehension. This is a Python concept.
Okay.
And I'm going to say n.getName for n in root find. So remember before, previously I used this function for inode enumerate root find, and then I said node get name. I'm using now instead of using the term node, I'm just using the letter n. Okay.
Yeah.
And okay. And so it gets confusing, but once you start understanding, what's going on.
That's good stuff.
So I'm doing n. So for n, for every element n that I find here in this thing, get me the name of it, and then I want you to sort it. Now, I'm not going to have a list with the numbers this time. I left out enumerated, okay?
Okay.
So let's see what happens. So now I get a list where the names are sorted in alphabetical order, according to the way KeyShot.
Okay.
Okay. So if I want to make this a little bit more readable, let's see if we can do a print. We'll see if this helps us. And this is another thing you can do you can use your copy paste. I'm just going to copy, paste, and do that. Let's see if this helps us. It gives us the same thing. It didn't help us. Actually,
think there's a
I'm going to
pretty
do,
print.
yes, I'm going to import. Thank you, John. I'm going to import a module called pretty print. And we'll see if this actually will do the trick. It doesn't have it in the environment.
No, there's a
What am I doing wrong here?
KeyShot. There's a KeyShot pretty print. I'm digging it up. Let me see.
Let's see if this works. This should, or pretty printer maybe. Is it?
Yeah, no, it's pretty print.
Too?
Lowercase pretty, uppercase print.
Oh, that's the name of it.
Yeah.
With the capital
and
P?
pretty. No, it's inside of KeyShot, so you don't even have to import it.
Oh, okay.
So it's lowercase pretty and then capital P print.
Okay, thank you. All right, so you can tell how much I use that one. All right, so I'm going to go back. Here's where I recall this, and so it's pretty.
Yep, and then capital P print.
And then capital P print, and it's already in the KeyShot environment.
Yes, sir.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm looking at the scripting documentation right now.
Is it Lux pretty print?
Probably. I don't have a script example I'm looking straight at.
It's Lux pretty print. That worked, but it didn't give me what I wanted in this output. The one thing I've learned is that the formatting isn't always ideal in the console. But again, for people who are listening, what's important to note here in this little back and forth that I'm having with Don, I'm making mistakes. We're talking about something that we didn't remember. Somebody doesn't use it as much as, I don't use this pretty print function virtually at all. So if it's a little rusty, you have to go find it, right? But this is the kind of thing that you have to do when you're learning to code. And so I just want you to know that making mistakes is a good thing. That's how you learn. It's how you reinforce things. And the system will give you some feedback as to what it is that you may be doing wrong. And Python as a language has gotten much better at providing more useful, what are called error messages, to tell you what's going on inside of your system. Okay. So this is a very simple example, but it gives you an idea of what potential power is there to get at your objects inside of KeyShot. And you can start getting, you can get all sorts of different information if you want. Like let's try.
You'll want it too. As I mentioned before, my information script folder is larger than any of the other ones. And when I first started messing around with Python, I'm like, well, this just seems like a lot of organization stuff, and it is. But now I see the importance of having that organization, the importance of being able to retrieve particular information, because a lot of our documentation is, a little vague or ambiguous. So what do you got to show us? We got to kind of wrap it up here. We've been going for a while. This has been great.
This is a great a little example of where you can get your KeyShot concepts and your Python concepts mixed up. So in this line here, in my what's called list comprehension, which is a shortcut for a for loop, where in one line you can, instead of using a couple of lines to do a for loop, you could do it all in one line. It's a very powerful construct in Python. And I said I wanted to get the type of object that is available in the model, right?
Yes,
and
sir.
I got an error message. Well, I was thinking about a Python type. Okay. So just to show you, before I get back to this, I could say, instead of using get kind, I can say
get
type and then n. And now it gives me the type that I talked about earlier. This is a Python type, and it's a custom object within KeyShot, which is an instance of a class, the class scene, the scene node. So when you go to your Python scripting documentation, hold on a second. Let me just bring this. I'm going to bring this guy into the screen so you guys can see this. So here's some Python. This is the latest scripting documentation for KeyShot. And you can see here we're talking about classes, Lux scene node, and they have in the documentation scene node. This is a class called scene node. So that's the object. Here are some methods and functions, and these are the methods and functions that are allowed for that particular class. I can get at that same information, a lot of that information. If I remember, we have root. Remember the root node? That's a scene node, right? So if I do, this is a Python concept, dir root, it will tell me all the functions or methods that are available on that object. Okay,
that's cool.
So you
all right,
and it shows me not only the Python methods but the KeyShot methods. So you'll recognize some of these as get name, get parent, get path, and so forth. So these are all various methods unique to KeyShot here, and the ones that are with the double underline, they're called dunder methods. These are Python methods for the most part, without getting into the weeds too much. But let's get back to this thing. What was this thing all about? Where I said get kind, which is, if you notice, there is, see right here, I did this dir method on root, and that was on a KeyShot object, and it has this method called get kind. Well, I use that up here in this list comprehension. Right here, I say n.getKind for n in root, find of all the modules, and it just gave me all of these guys. Now, what in the world is that? Just a bunch of numbers. That seems kind of useless.
Yeah, but they're the types, right?
But they're the types in KeyShot, and so I'm going to go back to my documentation and just show you in your documentation where you can find out what this actually means. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see these constants.
Yep,
all the way down. All right, and so
the
you've
constants.
Where's the KeyShot?
Which types?
Where is
node types? Node types.
There we go. Node type. There we go.
Yep.
Thank you. My eyes aren't as good as yours. Okay, so node type, animation, camera, group, model set. Well, we got some model sets. We've got a bunch of groups and so forth. See what's going on? So again, for people who see this for the first time and say, oh man, that's a lot of work just to figure out what that is and so forth. But there's no free lunch in this programming world. I mean, this is that composability stuff that I was talking about, where things get broken down into these tiny chunks. You either accept it or you don't. If you fight it, you're not going to be happy learning how to script. But if you accept it and embrace it, it won't be nearly as intimidating, because there are tricks you could use to create the kind that KeyShot just returned. I'll give you an example. I could create a little dictionary, and I'll just say kinds, and this is a Python concept, and I'll say 1 colon is model set. Okay. Then I'll say 2 colon is do we have a 2? No, we have a 5. We have a 5. 5 colon, and we'll say that's model. And then we'll say 1 colon, and we'll call that a group. And what I'm doing here is creating a different type, a data type in object type in Python called a dictionary. So what in the world is a dictionary? So it just accepted that. Now if I type in kinds, it shows me, what did I do wrong? Where'd my group go? Model set. I've got group model. I should have gotten the first. Oh, I had two of them the same one. Sorry. So this is an example.
This is how it goes, right? This is how it goes.
And say, okay, I used 4. I used 1 twice. Well, in dictionaries you can only have an instance of the key once. You can't have double keys. With the first term here before the colon is called the key, and the term after the colon is called the value in a dictionary. Okay. So now when I hit kinds, I get 3, right? So then I could say, well, let's go back to this guy where I say get kind 1. Let's see if I can do, I'm going to use the kinds dictionary, KINDS. And remember, now I'm going to open parentheses. I'm using this function that I just created, this dictionary, that I just created. And what I'm doing is saying use the get kind, the number on this dictionary, and return that. Let's see what this returns for us.
Okay.
What did I do wrong here? Object dict is not callable. It doesn't want me to use that here because it's just a dictionary.
Well, you should be able to use.
I know. Okay. No. Yes, I could use dictionary. I'm sorry. This is a typo. Instead of using parentheses, I should have used brackets. Okay, because to call the key, I have to use what's called a bracket or a brace, and now we'll see what happens. Okay. Oh no! What happened? It says key error 6, and because my dictionary does not have a definition, so we'll go back and say, what's 6 supposed to be, Don?
6? I don't know if we have a 6.
I think so. I think I saw it in the scripting. Let's just go back to the bottom.
I'm looking. Yeah, camera.
Okay, camera. And I'm just going to say camera. Here. So, and I misspelled camera, but I'll fix that. But this is the kind of thing that even someone with my level of experience, will show you that, I'm not a perfect typer and, I forgot something or whatever. This is the kind of thing that you have to do back and forth, especially if you don't do this often on this particular function and set of methods and that I'm working on, because this is something that I might do in my code, might not. But this demonstrates the power of Python and scripting. So I'm just changing the definition of my dictionary now. I added 6 and camera because I tripped it up, because the dictionary ran into a key number 6 that it said that's not in my dictionary, and it returned an error. And there's something else I could do to handle that, but for the sake of keeping this simple, I'll just change my dictionary. Okay, so we'll look at the dictionary again, and you can see now it's back in there. Now I'm going to call back that original list comprehension, and we'll see if this works. Okay.
Nice.
Voila.
Got a lot of groups there, man.
Got a lot of groups. The point is, I made this much more human readable now. So that's a little trick that I can have in my code and say, I want to know if I'm looking at something and trying to figure out something on a regular basis, and I want to, want to see which is a group or type, or I want to isolate things, you can use these little tricks to do that. And this is just, just the tip of the iceberg, but I'm just
It is.
showing some very basic stuff here to give people a feel for what it's like to work in the console. And then the notion of scripting is basically taking the code that the multiple steps here that we're doing in the console and putting them in a script and having KeyShot call that script. So you can have multiple lines. Like if I tried to do, kinds, and then I also try to do, let's say, get to the beginning of this guy, and I'll copy and paste the dictionary definition here, right? These two things.
Yep.
If I copy that and I paste that in here, now that was a little pasting error. I'll fix that here. Just bear with me. Get rid of as I pasted in the arrows, literally pasted everything in, see? So now let's see what happens when I try to do these two separate things, right?
Right.
It says about multiple statements. This is why we do scripting. The console is good for little chunks of code, right, that are independent logical, components. But once you start combining these concepts, it says, wait a second, I can't figure out this. This is too much. You need to put this in a script. So that is the purpose.
Well, I learned something today.
Okay. Well, there.
Yeah, this is why I never use the console, because apparently I'm putting in too much stuff.
I know. But the console is great for doing down and dirty checks of things when you're trying to interrogate your models initially. You're trying to figure out what you have, especially as things get more complex. So I find myself using the console a lot, obviously scripting a lot, and then I use an IDE like in an integrated development environment like Visual Studio Code or PyCharm, which makes it easier to do this sort of thing. So anyway, it's a combination of things. I hope that gives you at least a taste for what that's like.
I think so. This has been great. We really appreciate you sharing all this knowledge with us today. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we call it a wrap?
Well, I guess I would like to say that I appreciate the opportunity to work with you guys and to work with KeyShot. I've appreciated that over the years, and appreciate you guys having me on. I hope this is helpful. Oftentimes, when you get into these more technical discussions, it raises more questions than helps people. So I hope there is something that people can take away from this that is useful. I think I've tried to mention it or highlight it a few times about try to keep things simple, start out in baby steps, try to work on, little scripts first before you tackle more complexity, because even with what seems to be simple, it's easy to get tripped up and easy to get discouraged. You just got to keep hammering away at it. And of course, I do this for a living. So if somebody has any questions, they want to reach out to me, I'm more than happy to talk to them. I don't know if you have my email address and contact information, but if you guys would provide that, that would be great. And, if you guys want me back for more tips and tricks and so forth, I'd be happy to talk about that.
Right on. Thank you, Ted. We really appreciate it. And, your offer of taking some questions, that'll be great. We'll have people reach out to me directly, and then I can shoot those over to you as well. Again, just really want to thank you for taking the time out and to share all of this knowledge with everyone. I would love to do this again. So let's talk about that behind the scenes. Also want to thank the audience. Please, get in there, explore KeyShot Scripting, see what you can do. Reach out to either Ted or I, or you can reach out to me, and I'll ping Ted with any of the questions you may have. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day or week or month, whatever,
Thanks a
wherever
lot,
that takes you.
everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys can tell I'm not a professional podcaster, so you get what you get.
You do great, man. You did great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.